Yeah, there you go, D. You have me. Let's start with a word of prayer. Father God, thank you for another expression of your goodness. Thank you for this day. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your glory. Thank you for allowing us to share in your redemption story. We thank you for each speaker that has came and blessed us on this month in our Life Connections. We look forward to Dr. Jett, who will be here shortly as he continues to talk to us about the importance of education and share his journey. We pray that you would open up our hearts, our minds, and souls, that we would receive this engrafted word, which is able to save our souls and grow us up in you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, in light, thank you all for coming out. And like I said, Dr. Jett will be here in about 5 minutes. But in light of, it shows the importance of what he's going to be talking about and the journey, because we've seen, the news, you got it's all around us, but it's very close at Michigan State. Then here, yesterday or one of the days, the 17, well, before that, the 13 and the 14-year-old, and then was a what's today, Sunday, Friday night, I think it was, the mom and the son, yeah, the senseless, obviously, murders of what's going on. So it shows us that education piece, what it will do, it will enlighten us, and it will open us up and show us different paths, okay, and some availabilities and some things there. No one just wakes up out of the blue and just says, I'm going to shoot somebody today, or I'm going to do that. That doesn't happen. There's some thought patterns, there's some behavior patterns that continue to go on. And when those things are not guided or they're not checked, then every one of us in here has that propensity to do the same thing. What stops us, David, is education. What stops us is the group that we are around, your influencers, your mother, your father, your mentor, someone that's actually pouring into you. Because if no one poured into us anything, then we would be savage animals. If no one poured anything into us. That can be sitting on your grandmother's knee, sitting on your grandfather's knee. It could be your school teacher. It could be your coach. It could be a counselor, your life coach. There's somebody that's pouring values into us. And sometimes when these tragic incidents happen, we look at that and call them savages and everything else. The difference is that we've been domesticated through somebody's teaching, through somebody's mentoring, that kept us from doing some of the things that we see that we don't like. Okay? Now, Dr. Jett's coming, and he's going to, again, share with us some things about his journey, some things about college and things like that. Now, unfortunately, some kids never heard of college. Their parents, they know what it is. When I mean never heard of it, they're not even expected to finish some high school. And you hear the kids saying that, well, I ain't even, and you figure, where does that thought process, where's that line of, where is that coming from? It's coming from somewhere. So when a person doesn't see anything available to them and say, well, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna be dead before I'm 25 anyway, that lets you know that that person is living in darkness, operating in darkness, and there seems to be no light anywhere that's shedding light to them. So to have someone come to just share with us about college, because some people say, well, I can't make college. I can't even get through high school. You can't get through high school because you're not putting yourself, you're not applying the time and applying yourself. Believe me, the stuff our kids can do, ain't none of them dumb. Ain't none of them stupid. They can put together, you give them a phone, you give them a thing and tell them to go put that sign together. They won't even read the directions. They'll open a box and they know what to do because that stuff appeals to them. So it's not that our kids are stupid. It's not that they're unlearned. Some of them just haven't been taught to learn. And then some of them unfortunately think that if you do learn, and then if you talk in complete sentences, for us, they're going to say, well, you think you're white. Well, so if I talk in English, I'm trying to be white? You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the language. I'm not trying to be anything. And some people say, well, I want to do this, but I'd rather be cool and hang with my boy. And then you be cool and hang with your boy, and you end up somewhere you don't want to be because you was trying to be somebody that you're not, but it's cooler over there. Instead of somebody going, it's okay to study, man. Yeah, it's okay to do this. It's okay to do that. That's some people, as strange as that may sound to some of us, some people never heard that. And that's obviously very strange. I see my good buddy has come on in. Come on in, Dr. Jett, right over. Bring him around here, someone, and said he and his lovely fiance right over here. I'll introduce him now. Mike Hightower was a fellow Kalamazoo Central. Bring him over here, Henry, on this side. Bring him around on that side so he can get right up. Yeah. Dr. Anthony Jett and I was at Kalamazoo Central together. I think I'm a year or two, 85. Dr. Jett, or 86? 86. I'm 2 years ahead of him, but he was here. He was there with us. He played basketball, but his mother and father rightly named him Jett. He was a track star. He was a track star. He played basketball, but he was a track star there at Kalamazoo Central. He played ball with us. A young man who's always showed, even in high school, integrity, always respectful, and everybody around him that knew him loved him. That's just the kind of person that he is. I check on our people that we went to school with. I'm not on social media, but I'll look around and see some things. And I saw what he was doing in the city of Chicago. I bumped into him actually at a homegoing celebration where I bumped into Michael Wilder that same day, and he gave me his card. We haven't seen each other since Kalamazoo Central, but I appreciate what this man is doing. I appreciate his journey, and he's going to come to us today, and he's going to share. He's going to take us on a journey. So give it up for, again, my good friend, Kalamazoo Central alum and friend, Dr. Anthony Jett. I believe he hails from Ben Harbor, and he's currently now the director of the TRIO program in the University of Chicago, Illinois, which is close. And that's why I wanted our kids here to hear about that, because Chicago is 2 hours. So if you think you can't do it, he's here today to tell us that we can do it. I'll let him introduce himself and his lovely fiance. Thank you for coming. First of all, probably had to drive over trees, through trees. Stuff is crazy all over the place. So we thank you, Dr. Jett. So I introduce to you my friend, Dr. Anthony Jett, and he will come to us in his own way. There's your mic, Doc, so you don't have to.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. Whew, let me first by saying, before I get into giving God his just due for making it over the highways and the byways, but my tardiness, but you know, all you ladies know that we have to make sure you're dressed before we go, right? Yeah, if I want my life to go right, I got to take my time. But I've never in my life, Pastor, drove 100 miles an hour in order to get here. And I shouldn't have. But thank God the shift changed. No one was around. I didn't see one light, no nothing. Stopped in Ben Harbor, got some gas, jumped off. Here we are. Whew, so here I am. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Again, my name is Dr. Anthony Jett, and I'm still getting used to saying that. I was born in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Henry. Where's Henry at? My man Henry. OG. All right. Born in Benton Harbor, but Benton Harbor made me. Kalamazoo raised me. And that's when I ran into all the good people in my life that made a difference for me. They asked me this question on a Zoom call just a couple days ago. You know, we're doing things in Chicago, and they were like, it's an icebreaker. So now I know not to get on a Zoom call early, because if I get on there early, people want to talk to you before the meeting starts. So I'll just go in when it starts from here on out. But I did what I was supposed to do. I got on, and they said, well, we're going to play an icebreaker. That's what's an icebreaker. Tell us what you wanted to do before you grew up. I was embarrassed, but I come from poverty. My mother, single mom. I'm the oldest of four. And I said, well, I'll go first. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is. We used to make them hamburgers, and when you're little, the big fat ones, and you put it on a piece of white bread and it turned pink. That's what I was used to. So they asked me what I wanted to be, and I said I wanted to be Ronald McDonald Man. And they said, why? I said, man, he had all the burgers. The man had every access to the fries. So that's what I wanted to be. I didn't know I was going to be where I'm at now based on that, but the grace of God, he took me on a path that I didn't know that I was going to go on. Coming from Benton Harbor, you're not expected to be anything. So my mom moved me to Kalamazoo for a better life. And when I got here, I didn't know anyone. So I was befriended to one of my friends, Eco Dunning, and he has a big family, and they kind of like embraced me, and the Dunnings go forever. Pastor knows they go forever. And I asked where people are, what people are doing, and where they're going, and I'm like, I didn't know. So I went to a homegoing celebration, and I signed my name, Dr. Anthony Jett. And I didn't know that, we called him Tink, because he was the man back then, that he saw my name, and I got a call from someone. He said, Dr. Jett, you have a call. It's a Pastor Troxler. I'm like, who? And I picked up the phone, like, he called me at the office. So I said, okay, let me take this call. And anytime, there's some people in your life that you got to talk to. And if you talk to him, he was always upstanding. He was always handsome. He was like the guy. And so I wanted to, give him his just due. So when he called, I picked it up. He said, Brother Jett, I want you to come and speak at my church. I'm not going to tell this man no. He changed because he wasn't pastor when I knew him. I changed. I wasn't a doctor when so I'm like, okay, people change. So let me get into what I'm talking about. God has always sent people along my path to guide me. I didn't know who my father was. Still don't to this day. I met him 3 times, and the last time was at his funeral. I lived in New York and in Syracuse, and I flew, saw him. I said, all I wanted to know is, like, I just looked. I didn't know tears or nothing, because Tupac said it best, my anger wouldn't let me fear for a stranger. So I was good with that. So I'll never know where my height came from. I'll never know all these things, because everyone in my family is shorter than me. So why I became a doctor, I don't know. Part of it was because the loans were due, and if I didn't stop, they was coming to get me. So I might as well just run to the end of it and keep going and see where it was. I was praying for Biden. Come on, 50,000. Come on, baby, I need it. 10 was a breath mint, But so we're gonna wait and see what that does. The person that impacted my life was my 6th grade teacher. Why the 6th grade? He was a big dude, bald head, beard, chewed gum. That's where I got it from. Chewed gum. And I was like, I want to be this guy. I didn't have a dad, so he asked my mom, can we come over? I can come over to his house. And he basically taught me how to play chess. And he was like, whatever you're going to do, be the best at it. I'm like, I heard that before. Grandmama said, whatever you're going to, I got to scan the room first. All right. Be 2 times better than a white person. And I said, that was my motto. Always be 2 steps better than a white person. I didn't know what that meant. And I also didn't know what it meant when Grandmama used to get up at church all the time and just be like, she started off like this all the time. I like to thank God for my life, health, and strength. I was like, what? Okay. I went to one of those churches in Benton Harbor where you went in on Sunday, you didn't get out till Tuesday. So I hated Sunday school. But I was sitting there. If you notice, they always say if you raise a child up in the way they should go, they won't depart. A lot of that stuff fell on my ears, so I know. I'm like, okay, I get a lot of them lessons. So being in this role that I'm in now, I just didn't know how I got here. But God has some steps ordered. I didn't know that. And you got to tell me this one time, because people lie all the time. They say, well, God told me. Hey, I wish he talked to me. But if that's your common sense, I don't know. But that's one of them lessons you have to call and talk to me about. I don't know, but something in me told me to keep it moving. And I did. So getting to Kalamazoo, it was new. Meeting everybody was a good thing. My mother was like, if your son doesn't get into a program that's going to help him excel him, he may go to the streets. There were no gangs in Kalamazoo. I mean, the name don't even sound right. So She she snatched me one day and introduced me to Upward Bound. I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but you taking up my summers. And I played basketball. I wasn't the A team. I was more like the C team. But Coach Jackson was like, everybody has to be at practice in the summertime. So that took away my time. But she said, no, you're going. And she did one of them grab me by the ear joints. And I went to Upper Bound, and we were there with Covert High School. I think Battle Creek Battle Creek was there, Muskegon Heights, So I said, okay. I liked it. They took me on a college tour. I had no idea what I was doing. I went on a college tour. And I was like, all right, this is cool. We stay in the dorms, and I just want to get to the girls. I didn't know, but that's a good thing. So I'm going to shift real quick. When I met this lady, I didn't know, I was just like at work during a pandemic. I had just arrived in Chicago from California. I was at Cal State University. They did a nationwide search for the first black director of the Black Student Center. And lo and behold, I put my name in the hat. They flew me out to California. I'm like, oh, if you've never been there, take a trip. So I got the job. Went to California, got the job, and I did well. Came back. After I finished the PhD, I came back, and I said, okay, I'm here back in Benton Harbor. I ain't staying in Benton Harbor. That's, to me, is a step backwards. So I said, either I'm going to work at Notre Dame, Western Michigan University, or Chicago. And I knew the traffic. I didn't want to drive a lot, so I knew the train from Benton Harbor straight into downtown Chicago was it. So I got the job in Chicago. I'm doing my thing, and I interviewed. And I get there, and I'm at the job. And when y'all get an interview somewhere and y'all go to a job, make sure y'all see your office before y'all take the job. I arrived on campus. I get there, I'm all excited, suited up or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I hadn't known her yet. I get to the job, it's a pandemic. Okay, so just imagine a garage that was, the roof is off, it's detached, it rained for 30 years, it snowed for 40 years, there's leaves, raccoons, and everything. That's what my office was when I arrived. But I'm supposed to be there to uplift student success. I'm supposed to be there to try to tell black students you can make it. I turned in my resignation the same day I got there. And I was like, I can't do this. I mean, PhD, Benton Harbor, Chicago, So my boss at the time, he said, wait. What do you need? He gave me a blank check and said, fix this section. I fixed it up. It's state of the art. In that building, everybody is state of the art. And they were like, okay, this is perfect. I'm good. So let me get to the happy part. I hire someone from Benton Harbor to come and be my secretary. Now, don't clap yet. You can take them out the hood. You fill in the rest. So, but she did one thing right. So I got her to come. She came through, and this young lady works in human resources at the college. I hadn't known her. Everybody was doing the Zoom and not showing their face and that. I'm like, come on, man. So she goes to get her I-9 and all gets processed. And I'm like, okay. And she came back to the office. She said, Dr. Jet. I said, what's going on, Bernina? She says, have you ever met Lisa? I'm like, no. In my mind, has Lisa ever met me? And she says, she's just your type. You need to really find out about her. So me being who I am, I had people like Tink and Reverend Troxler. I watched them. So no dad. I watched everything I knew about my Mac skills from TV. Opening up the door, closing the door, being all nice and all that. So I just stepped out of myself. Here's myself. I just jumped out and I said, let me go for it. I said, Lisa, if you don't come to my office, now we had several Zoom calls. If you don't come to my office and show yourself, I'm breaking up with you. She came. She came. And when she came, and it was like one of them things from the movies, she walked into the office, the clouds, I ran, she walked, I ran some more. So the first thing is like awkward hugs, like you hug your grandmother, you're like, one of them. And then we said, okay, goodbye, and we hugged again, and she went to her car, I went to my office, and I was like, can you just get asthma? So I was like, okay. And we got together. She don't like me telling this story, but I'm going to tell her. I said, now, you a 10. I got to remember where I'm at now. I told you I can't handle them calling me doctor. So I said, you a 10. You know what I had to do to get to a 10? I had to date 5 2s to build a 10. So I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, nah, women that fine, you just don't. But I'm in Chicago, everybody's suspect. So I said, this last one, I'm going to get off of her. The last thing I told her, I said, listen, we went on a little date, had something to eat or whatever. And she says, listen, she broke my heart. She said, listen, I have somewhat of a boyfriend, but it ain't a boyfriend. I said, you know what? No, I got to tell you this. It's part of the story. I slept through this all night. I drove 100 miles to tell the story. I said, hopefully they invite me back. I said, well, if it's on the rocks or whatever, I said, well, can I be number 2? Bruh, I said number 2. And she was like, who says number 2? I said, me. Well, why number 2? Because when you were number 1 in this rocky, you always thinking about me. And it worked. But the clincher was, homegoing. It was like homegoing. I came back for my friend Scott Casey. My godmother passed away. And, in Chicago, they do this big thing about Macy's, Macy's Day, Christmas. Her family does that. Now, again, I'm the oldest of 4, no dad, never knew about traditions. I'll say, okay, tradition, Macy's. She says, well, really, I knew I had to do something spectacular to win her heart. She says, Macy's, we do Santa Claus, but due to the pandemic, Santa's not showing up. And we got five grandkids, and it's a tradition. They go eat, they see Santa, they get the ornaments. I'm like, okay. What in the world made me say, I'll be Santa? Now, I'm living in Benton Harbor. I still got my house, and I'm going back and forth. My best friend, mom passed away. I'm like, please, God, don't let the funeral be on this particular day. They came back with the funeral on the same day that I needed to be in Chicago to play Santa. Thank God for the hour time difference. Yeah. I went to Kalamazoo. I'm like, hey, man, I know okay, Barry, I got to go. I changed clothes, and I'm Santa Claus. And that made the difference. And right there, from there, we've been inseparable. Getting married July 1st. We're doing our thing. So I'm happy. Told you, Dave. Now, you're out the way. I can move on. So, in California, I'm at Cal State University. I'm doing education. I'm building bridges. I'm working with black students, bringing them into this campus that has like 0.3% blacks on campus. I'm not from there. So the phrase that they say is not where you're from, is where you're at really makes a difference. All I know, if you don't know what to do what you know to do. That's go to the schools, talk to the kids, and engulf myself in the community. That job ended. Now I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. I'm building bridges. Doing my thing in Chicago. Things is great. I noticed that, and I thought when I went to Chicago that I was going to a place, blacks, Fred Hampton, I'm going, we finna do this. That's the most segregated city I've ever been in my life. Everybody is in silos, and even when the blacks, they always protect themselves. They didn't. So now, this is our 8th month. I think that I do a happy hour type of thing where everyone can get together that's black. So now we started with 5. Now we're up to like 100. So now you got 100 black folks who never knew each other on campus, all getting together. And now they ask for it every 3rd Wednesday. So I'm like, I've done that. But life being full circle, the job that I really wanted was to be the principal of Kalamazoo Central High School. That was what I really wanted to make life full circle. Let me tell you how life really works for me. I have my doctorate in educational leadership. My dissertation is on college tours, culturally responsive college tours, and its impact on college choice among black urban students, an ethnographic qualitative study. I've done that. I do that work right now in Chicago by going and getting black kids to come to UIC and say there's a better pathway for you. Now, I know that not having a dad makes a difference. So will I ever have daddy issues? Yeah, I got them, but I suppress that stuff because I got to keep it moving. I'm only on this earth for a little while, and while I'm here, I got to be the best that I possibly can be. And having a good helpmate makes the world of a difference because I don't get into myself. She calms me. And I thought, I got 10. I tell her this all the time. When, I said, I'm a doctor, Michigan, and came from California. She don't care about none of that. Hey, none of that. You're going to clean, you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm riding with you, wait on me, we're going to get there. I'm driving 100 because I can't let my man down. So I love it, and having somebody on your team. Young folks, who's in here going to college? Who's first generation in this crowd, young folks? First generation? Okay. You got them high? Okay, only one. I noticed when I walked in here, before we came down here, is one person in this place that made a mistake in life. And he know who I'm talking about. And it's okay, my brother. It's how you bounce back that makes a difference. And as long as you stay under his leadership, you'll be all right. I'm part of the greatest fraternity in the world. I got the mic. I see my sister in the back there, Delta Sigma Theta. So I got some help here. But you got it right, so you got half of it. Oh, you the popo, so all right. I got to make it out of here. I'm sorry. I just got to get to the county line. I'm sorry. Driving the speed limit is what everyone should do. So, getting in the upper bound, I met Dr. Toni Woolfolk. She was my counselor. She was our director. I bumped in her 10 years ago. She's still at Western Michigan University. And when she found out I was a doctor, that was one of the longest embraces and longest hugs I've ever had, that she found that the program actually works. So if there's a program around here and you got young children or anyone that you want to get in that program, please put them in that. It helps them academically, searching for scholarships. I send those out. So if you got any young folks that need scholarships, I send those out every week, Pastor. I will gladly send them here. They're national scholarships, so they can apply to them. You never knew people like Burger King got scholarships. They do. Walmart has scholarships. You have not because you ask not. So if you put your name in the hat for those things, you will get them, and that's my charge to Pastor. I will give him those. And then he'll disseminate them to or turn me on whoever I need to give them to so they can actually do it. So when I woke up this morning, I had a phrase, and it came to me if this other thing pops up. And it was this: it's never too late to be great, so elevate for goodness sake. When I mean that is, I ain't know too many young folks in here, you know what I'm saying? But the ones I'm talking to, how many of y'all tired of y'all mother or grandmother or grandpa saying, you can do this, you can do that, don't do this, don't do that? I was the first. So in order for me to stop hearing my mother's mouth, I had to do something that was positive. I never been in a gang, I never been to jail, so I'm like, okay, I made it. How did I do this without a father? But it's people like Reverend Troxler, people like my ninth grade counselor, who was an Omega man. I'm still looking for that guy today. My sixth grade teacher, his name was Mr. Days. And I said, wow, sometimes you have this personal reflection. You have to sit back and reflect on yourself, and you do it. And I said, where is Mr. Days? So I went on a 25-year hunt for Mr. Days. I called back to Edison Elementary, no record. I called everybody I knew, no record. An old first girlfriend, no, just Mr. Days, not you. I ain't trying to rekindle that. I'm just trying to find him. So I found him. I did. After 25 years, I finally found him. And this was the man that I really wanted to give a hug to and say, thank you, man, for everything. I don't know how I made it to this point, but I wanted to just give him a hug and thank him. Well, it didn't happen like that, because when I found him, he was passed away 2 years prior to me finding his son. So I wrote a book. It's called The Power of Sixth Grade. And I'm going to be encouraged to finish up the last chapter. So I told his son and his widow that I would come to Columbus, Ohio, and when I do the book signing at his school, wherever they want me to do it, he can give me the hug that I wanted from his dad. And I said, okay. Now, life is ironic. His name was Mr. Days. Her name is Lisa Days. What's the chance when I get to Ohio, if that's a connection, oh, I'm good then. You know what I'm saying? I am good. I am really good. Any of you are in college or finishing up college, or everybody's just good at this point? Where you at, may I ask? Praise, sister. Well, are you in the dissertation phase? Oh, the rate to recidivism. Okay. All right. Absolutely. I got you. Anybody, any other college? All right. That's okay. Anybody got any questions for me at this point? Not you, officer. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I work for the Urban League, and I have a similar program to TRIO, which is upward bound, but I offer scholarships. Okay, so we have a scholarship program that's in direct connection with Western Michigan University, and I also have a program that is directly with Grand Valley. So my question is, and I understand the population here is totally different from Chicago, but how do you, because it's really been a hard thing, I recruit every nationality that is in Battle Creek, but my black kids, I don't know why, they don't bite. I talk to parents that have been in the program, who have been successful and graduated through the program and stuff, but our problem is being able to recruit our black children.
Same issue in Chicago. If you watch movies, Bernie Mac said it best. We got them type of parents. And now the kids run the house. And that's the problem. And my next book that I'm going to write, and nobody can answer this question, when did free become hard to give away? And they don't take advantage of that. And unfortunately, you have to adjust your numbers to that. And even the Department of Education knows that we can't get students like that, so they give you different incentives. So instead of me having a regular curriculum on Saturdays for my students, I just meet them where they at. Bring your homework. So let me get you from good and help you make you great. So just change the whole curriculum and just do homework. Food is not enough. The old policies that they had back when I was in the program, they still have them. And unfortunately, the Republicans always try to snatch the money from us. As soon as they get in, they want to cut education. I mean, once they got theirs and the privileges, that's what it is. But now you have to do some things that's a little bit unorthodox or creative, and I don't know if you got someone like Kellogg here that can give you some money that you can do some things that attract them. We have very little, so it's a conversation you got to have, you know. And if you do that, you're good. Try to find Kellogg and go to the table with them. And they got money for philanthropy. I know that when I was in Ben Harbor, they were doing the same thing in Ben Harbor. So you have it. And I used to run that program, Connect Up. It was when they had the civil unrest, I call it a riot. You know, back in the 90s or early 2000s, they had that with Governor, I forgot, Gretchen, but they had that. So if you ask Kellogg for some money, trust me, you're in their back door. They'll give it to you. But then also your recruiters, whoever you got to have somebody closer to their age that can relate to them, that you can trust, that will get that done for you. Anybody else? Now, I drove the speed limit getting here. So anybody else have any questions? And I'm, yeah, oh, all right, come on, Grandma. What you got for me?
Okay. I've just moved back to Battle Creek. I grew up here. And there are 7 houses. I've said this before, and I say it again. Of the people that live on that cul-de-sac, very few. There are 3 kids in the house. They have 3 different fathers. And many times, and some of them are very outstanding people in the community. And in this particular place, and I won't say too much, but now there are 4 kids in the house, 4 different fathers. How I need some instructions, really, to reaching out for the kids. You know, I have a heart for that because I was blessed. I grew up in a family that believed in education. And the other young lady, I'm sorry, the other young lady that just spoke is my niece. And we were taught education. The family members in Arkansas would come out of the cotton fields on Labor Day. And the day after Labor Day, they would be in college. But one of the fallacies in Battle Creek is when I went to high school, they did not advise colored students, and I say it that way, to take college prep courses. But fortunately, my dad and mom believed in me, and my dad came up to the school, and I was able to take college prep courses, which meant that I did not have any courses with any of my friends. And I'm crying now because 3 of my friends have died recently. Still waiting for the funerals. But we just, how do we, I guess, be like a grandmother or, whatever, I don't know what. But do you understand what I'm asking?
I'm waiting on you to bring it on home. Come on.
How do we reach out to these children without, and doesn't have to be a structure, but just some ideas. I think that my feeling is that with the main family that I'm talking about, with the new baby, the mother did ask me, since I would take an interest in the kids, if I would be the godmother.
Naturally.
And here I am, 84, going to be a godmother for a newborn baby, but I guess if that's what the Lord wants.
So those 4 kids in the house are all by her? 4 different daddies by her?
They are. And then when the other kids, when sometimes in the summer, there might be 9 children in that house.
Well, that's a social service issue, ain't it? Something wrong. But
that's just the way our society runs nowadays. People don't believe in marriage the way we did and all of that. And so we've got to do a lot of changing. You invite them to church, and it falls on deaf ears.
Wow. Okay. Your niece, I guess I can talk to you guys after I get out of here or whatever to give you some advice on what I would do. Okay? What is it with y'all and these police? Babe, we got to get up out of here. Okay. All right, got you. Any other questions? Yes, sir. And let Ben Harbor come on to you. Hold on.
first and foremost, I want to thank you for for coming out and sharing. How important are you finding it with not only you, but particularly you, to identify really what they're good at, what they're interested in, and then investing in that?
Your child? Your child? You talking about children in general?
Just in general.
Oh, just being around. Like, I didn't know. I'm coming up with a single parent home, and my mother just was in a beauty salon and saw someone said Upward Bound, and said, let me just put my son in it. Well, back then, whatever your mother said or father said, you would do. Ain't no talk back. So that's what that's what it was. Basketball, I'm hanging around with the big guys, learning how to do this. But if you sit back and I played chess, but I learned that from my sixth grade teacher. Just finding their interest and just asking them, just having a clear conversation. If they know there's no repercussions for what they're going to say to you, and you give them a free atmosphere to talk, you'll learn a lot. And then you just build on it, because there's a program, trust me, for anything they want to do. And all you got to do is give them travel back and forth. Chicago kids got to come. I give them bus cards to get back and forth, and I feed them. So I make sure on my watch, at least they eat lunch and breakfast, and they get home safely. But if you find something that they like to do, stick with it. You don't find too many people playing chess nowadays, But that's all. Anybody else? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I would just say, I'm a police officer, as you said, but I'm the school resource officer at Battle Creek Central. So I work with kids every day.
Tony Warren.
Yeah, Tony. I see Tony
man.
all the time.
My man.
Yep. So what I've seen with the kids is you got to show genuine interest in what they're interested in, whether you're interested in it or not.
Correct.
Like, it can be completely foreign to you. But if they show you're not interested in what I'm interested in, they will tune you out and not pay you any attention at all. Me and my wife always talk about it. I'm going to just say it because y'all know me, how I say stuff. It doesn't matter what you think it should be. You got to deal with what it is.
Correct.
And I think we get too tied up in, well, it used to be like this or it should be like this. Well, it's not. We got to deal with what it is. And what it is that a lot of our kids come from single-parent households. A lot of our kids live in poverty. A lot of our kids aren't really interested in much of anything. They want to play their game. They want to hang out. That's about it. So you got to really get in there with them to see what makes them tick. What do they want to do? What kind of things are they interested in? You can't just spitball ideas at them and think they're going to latch on to one of them. You really got to spend time with them. And then you will kind of see, oh, you have an aptitude for this. You're good at this. I notice you kind of light up when we do this kind of stuff. And then you can just latch on to that and really guide them and show them where they need to go.
That's just like dating, no romance without finance. And sometimes you got to put your own money into it, invest in the kid. That helps too. So when you get into it, like I have a mentoring program in Chicago, you don't just mentor for a little small bit of time. That's for life. That is for life. So I take that word like love. I don't use them loosely. And you say you want to mentor someone, it's for life. Yes, ma'am. I like that walk, Ben Harker.
Last summer, I had a parolee who had a job interview, and he'd done 4 years in prison and came home. And so the morning of the interview, I texted him, good luck, you got this. Go in there and give him that bright smile, give him that Denzel smile, and land the job. And he texts back, who is this? I said, I'm a little disturbed. I asked you to put my name and number in your phone, but this is your agent. Good luck with your interview. I get a text back, I can't believe this. I got the job. So I sent them a little friend's happy dance. I said, told you could do it. But this kid told me he was fascinated with solar energy. I'm no longer his agent because I moved to a different department, but I now write reports. So I just sent him a pamphlet from Michigan Community College because they have a solar energy program. So I sent it to his house, from the office and say, hey, you might want to look into this program, see if you can get a grant to take this. Now my number is saved in his phone. No, I'm no longer his agent, but I'm like, okay, better late than never. He's like, you're just odd. You're not like the rest of them. You hired on us and everything else like that, but good looking out. I'm going to see if I can get a grant, but I'm a felon. I told him there are no buts. I'm so glad you committed your felony at 18 because you got the rest of your life to recover from it, young man. So we all made stupid decisions at 18. Okay? Had it not been for cancer, I would have been in the car running dope from Kalamazoo to Chicago. But I had chemo that day and didn't go with him. And he picked up 25 years in prison for it. I would have been in the car with him. And I told him that. And he said, you don't even look like that kind, baby. Don't get me started, is all I could tell him. But you have to be what the officer said. You just got to, I saw the pamphlet and just thought to send it to him. Why not? Maybe he will go, maybe he won't go. But if you plant the seed, like Pastor said, somebody else will take it from there. So that's, you got to just show a little interest in him. If not, he's going to be back on my caseload again.
But thank God you did what you did and had enough within you, and the Jesus in you shined. And now you got someone you can work on. And back to your own self, now you're in the PhD program. You've been finished. The race ain't given to the swift. You got this. I finished mine in 3 years. Absolutely. No summers, no vacations. I wanted it. And I did it. Did I have hemorrhoids? No, I was by the pool relaxing and doing my thing. But I didn't. In the books, she'll get on me, you always reading. I still read. I'm in school right now. I'm in school right now to be a superintendent.
Amen.
Just to have it in my pocket. Because I'm thinking about retirement. So I'd rather have that money to pad it up. You know, I can live off of that. Can't we, baby? All right.
Now, Dr. Jett, what was it about Mr. D's, again, no father, what was it about Mr. D's that made you connect or curious or wanted a relationship? What was it about him that drew you to him?
Being the only black teacher in the building.
Okay.
I liked the girl that was in his class.
Okay.
The one that I called to find out where he was. Okay. But just because he took an interest, as my favorite police officer in Battle Creek said, that he took an interest in what I wanted to do. And to your point, he invested in me. He did everything right. He called my mother. She said, okay. And that moment of self-reflection, when you sit down by yourself, you think about, how did I get here? I'll never have the father memories. But with him, I saw him like that. And me standing up here, she knows I get teary-eyed because I'll never be able to tell this guy, thank you. So I got to do what's best and give it to his son. But God always put people on my path. My counselor in Upper Bound. That's why I got in the fraternity, because of this guy. I knew nothing about it. And the police officer know, 2:30 in the morning, sis, y'all know, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. But anything I start, I finish. And because of that, man, it took the time with me. I think I became who I became and bumping into people, teachers. My mother put me in Big Brothers, Big Sisters. Okay. I tried to reach out to that gentleman. He passed away. So by the time I got it together, and that's why I go to church, because I'm one of the ones who ain't got it all together. You know, like some of these other saints, they got it. I don't have it. So I keep going to better myself. I'll never have those answers, but I just keep moving forward. We got grandkids we want to raise, and I can put everything that I've ever learned into them. Mm-hmm. So one of my prayers is, God, let me stay here long enough just to see them grow up so I can give them some of the things in me that I got. And she knows I light up. They her grandkids, they mine now, they come to me, you know. Right. And they can't call me granddaddy. That ain't me. They call me G-daddy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fitting. Because they don't know if it's gangster or whatever. Depends on if they get bad grades or whatever. It depends on how I gotta act.
Right.
So Kalamazoo has been good to me. And I didn't know, I haven't seen this brother in 30 years. 30 years. Just to tell him thank you. And he didn't know he was gonna be here, that's for sure. I didn't know I'd be here for sure, but it all started Kalamazoo. And here we are.
Now, Dr. Jett, for the mother or the father who says, okay, I don't have any resources, I don't have any money, I don't have this or that, how would you tell that person how they can, despite what they say they don't have, how would you tell that person what they do have and they can invest what they do have into that child?
The internet is the best thing. Can you imagine when we was around, we would have the internet, what we would be?
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your house.
Right.
And you can find the resources and put in the zip code and what resources are right closest to you. You got resources right here in this building. PhD, police officer. I forgot what she does, but in this room, all y'all got talent. And you just have to open your mouth. Mm-hmm. My mother did. And she didn't know she had planted that seed by putting me in a program that I didn't even want to be a part of. Now I run the program in Chicago. How's that for irony?
Amen.
And I still can talk to my same director, you know, and young folks, you know, y'all got to get on that path. Y'all don't have the time that y'all think y'all got. Amen. This ain't like in the 60s when we put our money and our pension away. You ain't got that kind of time.
Right.
And I used to say, here today, gone tomorrow. Can't say that. Here today, gone today.
Gone today.
Yeah. So I learned all my lessons in church.
Say that again. I don't think everybody heard you. Say that again, Reverend.
I learned all of my lessons in church.
Amen.
Sitting in the back, made me sit in the front. You fall asleep. You're sitting there, you're all wide awake because you got a pocket full of now-and-laters. You're good. Boston baked beans and a chicken stick. You doing your thing. That's old school candy.
Right.
And you sitting there, but when it's gone, you fall asleep. And then I got the grandfather that said, if you go to sleep, I'm going to slap you till you see stars. I thought that was a joke until it happened to me. I literally saw stars. I'm like, up from the heavens. And I was like, literally. And I got to find myself, you know, because I can't stand back talking kids. I mean, that's because we came from that era.
Right.
You know, and it's hard. You know, you got to catch a case. You know, you jack one of them up. So woo. That's why I got her. That's that angel. Because the other one, ugh. But every lesson that I did learn, I learned in church.
Amen.
And then my mother, God bless her, she, in our neighborhood in Kalamazoo, I'm going to wind it up here, there was this little white church down the street on East Main, and they used to have a bus. They call it the Joy Bus. And she says, get on this bus. I'm like, oh, Mom, I gave you upper bound. And now she want me to get on this bus because my grandmother always said, if you don't go to church, if anything, go to church somewhere. She found a white church because they walked around just like Jehovah's Witnesses and put a pamphlet on our door. And they sent the big bus that said, actually, the Joy Bus. I'm on this bus, and they start singing songs, and this is how I learned in church. If y'all talk about Zacchaeus, I know they was like, Zacchaeus was a wee little man and a wee little man. I know it like, Zacchaeus, you come down for the Lord to come to your house today. I learned that church. So when a preacher preached it, I'm like, man, I know that. You know, so I learned all those parables, you know, the three wise, everything in church. And it all leads back to our foundational roots. Yes. And now it's even better because now we talk. We got pastors that, like, real ones. I ain't talking about the jack-leg ones. I'm talking about the real ones that meet you where you at, that will help you in living for something. That's what I'm talking about. So everything I learned here. So in closing, I thank you all for having me. I thank you all for connecting me with Reverend Troxler again after 30 years. I mean, he still is that guy. And I'm so proud of you, man, you know, and I would do it again. Driving the speed limit, of course. But anytime you need me, man, I'm here.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Dr. Jett. Praise God for my good friend. We shared time together on a court and on the track. And as I said, just watching him, even then, we praise God for that mother, for that structure, and he's just grown into who God has called him to be. So thank you for coming down. Thank you for sharing. And again, information. Did y'all hear him say even Burger King got scholarships? I guarantee you the scholarships is better than the food. But again, we have to be proactive as well. We can't sit and wait for people to come knock on our doors. Because sometimes people say, I hear it all the time, things ain't available and this and all that. Well, there's a lot of things available, but you got to look for them and search for them. And he said that. And again, for those that, well, okay, single, I don't know my father. Well, he didn't know his either. That didn't stop him from doing what he did. So we got to just get rid of those excuses, because that's what they are. And we can help people. There's resources everywhere. I'm available, and I'll get those things from him. And then we can share them and disseminate them with you all. Because again, we got murders and shootings and 13, 14. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And unfortunately, those individuals, they didn't have, obviously, a Mr. D's days. Because first of all, you got to go to school. Because that's what the teacher was in school. Our kids, 12 and want to quit school. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't do that. So thank you, man. And we'll be sharing. It's been a blessed month. God has richly blessed us with every speaker that has come in. Thank God for you. Sister Vera and you all, if you need to talk with him, obviously after, we're going to start service in 15 minutes, but if you want to talk to him and get some information, all of you, and I have his information obviously in his card, so if you need to get a hold of him after he leaves or something, I can get a hold of him and we can get that to you, okay? Let's close out. Thank you, God, for another expression of your goodness. Thank you for bringing my friend across the highway safe to share with us. I pray that this word will not come back void. Thank you for the great work in which he is doing. Thank you for the arms that reached out and for the people that you've put into our lives to make a difference. I pray that the young folk receive something on today, a glimmer of hope that I can do this. My circumstances don't control me. I can do this. I'm a thermostat, not a thermometer. The thermostat dictates the temperature. The thermometer just reads the room. You are a thermostat. You decide. You control what's going to happen in your life. God, we thank you, we love you, we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.